to talk about um, changing the host's verbiage to devices in Fleet. So across the UI, and give me one moment. We would like to update every place that uses the word host or hosts to say devices. So this Figma file doesn't indicate exactly every place where that occurs, but the intention is to do a sweep of the UI and update the naming everywhere in all copy. The second change included in this file is to update the top navigation by removing the settings tab, which appears for both global and team admins, and moving that into the drawer on the right. So that the behavior of this settings item will behave the same as the existing settings tab. There's one additional item, manage users, that will navigate only global admins directly to the users tab in the settings page. And then there's this is a styling change. There's two dividers between the section in the growing drawer.
So is that, I see it's only available to global admins because only global admins can manage users, right? Team admins cannot manage users?
They can only for their team. I guess they can't reach that users page. They can't reach that top level users page. So yeah, in a later pass, that I guess that button or that item could appear and take the user or a team admin directly to the members tab. But yeah, that's something that,
right? Which of their teams would it go to? That'd be an open question to figure out. I think what you have here is good, no? But I'll yeah, just wanted to make sure I understood. That makes a lot of sense.
cool. Luke, is it clear? Can it be more clear in terms of where in the UI we'd like to update host to devices rather than just saying all?
No, we can do a search and get a good list of all the occurrences. Big question is going to be, how confidently do we feel that we're going to stay with devices, or is there a chance that's going to change again?
Very little chance.
Okay. I'm asking because host is all over the code in terms of component names, things like that. That'll be the more probably time intensive part, not changing the text in the UI, but changing all of the references to things called host. And not doing that is going to cause, it's like, we don't have that, but it's going to cause confusion over time that is probably not worth it, where people will say, why is devices called hosts? Every new person that comes on, we'd have to give the spiel to. Right. So of like, it used to be called host, it's not anymore, but the code still does. So we'd want to roll that in and go ahead and make a sweeping change. But yeah, I think from a spec standpoint, it's pretty straightforward. It'll just be a little bit time consuming, but definitely worth it.
Got it. Yeah, there have been discussions about making a breaking change to the API as well at some point in the near future. So making the same hosts to devices.
All right. That didn't even occur to me, but it's also all over the API.
And it's more than just the URLs. It's also the data and the responses, right? So that's where it's like,
yeah, how far? Yeah, it's like, are you going to change column names in the table and like really go full?
Right.
Probably not in the database. Probably would happen in the API first. It wouldn't happen until Fleet 5. And I think Zach's supportive of changing it in the API. The only problem is it's not as easy as making it backwards compatible with the URLs because the data itself is going to change. So whenever we do it, it'll be pretty gnarly. And it sounds like, I mean, as long as we're in this state, we're going to have that conversation with contributors, right? About like, hey, why is it called host in the API? But we figured at least this way we get it into the UI. One of the most common questions I have when talking to users about Fleet is like, wait, what's a host?
Mm-hmm. It's an Airbnb. It's this thing.
Right.
And we track Airbnb hosts.
Their computers too.
Yeah, makes sense. And I think it's worth changing it everywhere on the front end that we can, as far as code and file names and things like that. I've gone the path of not doing it in the past, and I always end up wishing that I had later on. I'm thinking of when Harvest changed their name to Draft, and we kept everywhere in the code base Harvest. So then like 5 years later, we're still explaining to people that they changed their name one time. Like, why is Harvest all over? Is that the time tracking app? So yeah, but seems straightforward. And I think the specs look good, so no more detail needed. I mean, I'll add a lot of specs to probably like a list of files that we want to touch and things like that, just to make sure we get everything. But
makes sense. To help prioritize later, what I'm going to do is I'm going to split out the goal of this settings movement with the device renaming. Because I think that settings change is going to touch a lot less.
Totally. Yeah, we should just do one ticket for the name change period, and then all the other changes separate. And then we'll draw straws on who gets that ticket.
You already mentioned the front end code changes, Luke. One other thing that was non-obvious when Noah and I discussed this earlier is like the front end URLs, to the extent they're not referenced in the UI or in the API, we could actually change them if we did a backwards compatible thing. So like, I think right now it's like host/manage, right?
Manage/host, maybe.
Yeah, I think it redirects you to host manage maybe, but then if that becomes devices/manage, I think that's awesome. A safe way to do that would be to make the hosts URLs continue to work but redirect you.
Yeah, which wouldn't be a problem. But yeah, that's a good note.
Watch out for the back button.
Oh yeah, you have to track for that so it actually still works.
Yeah, because it's a client-side redirect, so you might have to do whatever the thing is where it like skips the router or something. I forget. You probably are a lot closer to it.
Yeah. Trying to think. We don't have a ticket yet. Where's the best place for me to keep these notes? I'll just take my own. Is it okay if I add dev notes to Figma? No.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
I'm gonna link you to the page that I made. The link to this Figma page is in the Zoom chat, Luke.
Cool, thank you. Put them in there. Yeah, because those are some non-obvious kind of gotchas that would probably pop up.
Mike? Okay. I don't know. I think I have a bit of concern with devices because I think we could also have servers be agents, right? Or hosts. So is it really going to translate really well calling servers devices?
It's a great question. My thought process, Kelvin, is that we have host is a very server centric term, right? Ish, sort of, sometimes, right? And it's like, so it works. But right now people ask the question constantly, like, what is it, right? Devices, there's not that what is it pause. And so then the question is, are we alienating users who want to understand they're using Fleet like just for their servers, right? I think maybe we should make this a public issue, pose what we're trying to do. And then Kelvin, if you wouldn't mind, like, could you take that to the Slack channel and kind of just like get some feedback and try to get everybody's answers, link them to the issue, try to get them into the issue.
Yeah, because I don't really like host, first of all. It's really confusing to just like know what it was. But devices, it's just, I think we need to find like a middle ground for that.
Could be
server-ish.
I haven't been able to think of one yet, Kelvin, but potentially there is one. And so it would be good to, I think the main concern that stems from that I'm hearing is like, how does our SRE audience, like the Fortune 500 customer that we have that is mostly coming from an SRE background, for example, but not just them as our customer, but like anybody else like them, right? That's like primarily using Fleet for servers, like what's their reaction? And then maybe like we can then make a decision on it. Noah, when do you think we would get this into, when would we start working on this change?
Sometime in the next 6 weeks.
So we'd have 6 weeks to collect feedback in that issue. So maybe we could start off that way and just kind of like take that discussion public in GitHub. What do you think, Kelvin?
Yeah, sure. That's perfect.
Kelvin,
it's a good plan. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Or you can think about containers too. Is that really a device? Kelvin, I will pass you the issue when I file it.
No problem.